Greetings. As you saw from the thumbnail, I saw Captain Marvel. I actually saw it Thursday night, but I decided to wait until now to post this video because I just wanted to digest it a lot. Now, if you've seen any of my other movie reviews, you know one of two things. One, I usually don't know most of the people in the movie, so I don't even remember most of the names most of the time. And two, if I went to the movie, I probably liked it. As a matter of fact, out of all the years I've gone to movies, well, yeah, actually, I guess I can pretty much say that. Out of all the years I've gone to the movies, there's only been one that I paid for. I need to say that I didn't like. Only one ever. So, you know already that I like this movie. But how much did I like this movie? Well, I liked it a lot. I didn't read a lot before this movie coming into it. I heard a couple of things. One, I heard that the star Brie Larson was accused by a lot of men of basically, well, calling out white men and saying there's too many of them doing too many bad things or whatever. Well, you know what? I'm not a white man, so she wasn't talking about me. So y'all got to deal with that. I didn't have to deal with that. And two, I did not know anything about Captain Marvel. Matter of fact, I thought Captain Marvel was from Warner Brothers. And then it turns out that they actually did have a character that was called that. And then they changed it to Shazam because of this character. So way back when, that's all I knew. So I knew nothing about this story. And I think that actually helped because I had no real expectations except for the fact that I knew it was part of the MCU. And I pretty much figured I'm going to like this movie regardless. I have no problem with women being lead heroes. And I guess she's supposed to be. So what are you supposed to do, you know? Same with Wonder Woman. I loved Wonder Woman. I loved this movie. That's just how it is. So let's talk about this. I actually wrote down the names of people this time. I hope I pronounced things right. I thought that Brie Larson was wonderful as Captain Marvel. And people said that some didn't think she was the right person for it. Some said that the beginning of this movie was boring the first 30 minutes. I'm thinking, what boring? My God, it captured me from the very beginning. Now, maybe because I didn't know anything else, so maybe for folks who were big comic book fans, where I was, but that was basically when I was like from the age of 3 until about 13, when my mother threw all my comic books away and said, no more comic books for a year too old, because that's what parents did back then. We didn't get to keep our comic books and make a lot of money later on and become big fanboys of comic things and getting all this stuff. That just was not our life. So like I said, I knew nothing. I knew nothing about Skrulls, trees. I'd never heard of any of these folks until this movie. So I thought she was wonderful. And she was funny. She was strong. She had American resilience. That sounds strange to talk about, especially in this day and age, but that's what we do. We get back off the ground and we do what we have to do. We think about things and we get going. I loved her character. Obviously, I love Samuel L. Jackson. One of the only two people I knew in this movie. Samuel L. Jackson, where they CGI'd him to be a younger guy, a younger Nick Fury. Who knew this guy? I love this guy. This guy with the cat that wasn't really a cat, but it's a cat, because I'm not giving any spoilers. But him, I love. It's interesting seeing kind of a fresh-faced Nick Fury. He's part of S.H.I.E.L.D., but he doesn't know all the stuff that he knows later on. He's not that super spy. So seeing more of a naive Nick Fury was one of the coolest things ever. And the chemistry between these two, you wouldn't know they were 40 years apart in real life. You just wouldn't. This was some funny stuff. And it was serious when it needed to be, but in general, this was funny stuff. And then we had, we had Jude Law as a character named Jan Rogue. And everyone else knows this, so, you know, whatever. He basically is the one who's training Carol Danvers. And they don't know her full name, so they're calling her Vers, because they think that that's her name because she'd had some big accident and her dog tag was cut in half. So that's all they knew. They didn't know the rest of her story. And he's training her and trying to get her to stop using these powers. But it was interesting. And early on, I kind of wondered, well, wait, what's going on? Because she seems to be the only one who could do that. Yes, it's a spoiler. I'm sorry. I'm trying not to do spoilers. Anyway, he turns out to train her. And it turns out he's a bad guy. He's a Kree. He's a bad guy. And we have the bad guys where their leader was a guy named Ben Mendelsohn, or Talos in the movie. And it turns out that they were actually the good guys, but they were seen as the bad guys. I knew none of this. Now, the reason I'm saying this stuff is because it turns out a lot of things I watched after I saw the movie where a lot of people already knew these things. So I guess this is no big secret to anyone who wants to go see this movie who knew anything about Captain Marvel. The rest of y'all, I'm sorry to kind of mess up a few things, but I'm not telling you a whole bunch of stuff. Let me just say that most of the things in this movie I didn't see coming. So I enjoyed this a lot. Annette Bening. I haven't seen Annette Bening, my God, 10, 15 years? I can't even remember the last thing I saw her in. But it was wonderful seeing her. She still looks great. And, I got nothing else there. She plays a very interestingly prominent role in here, even though you don't see her all the time. And it was just so cool seeing her with the silver hair. I love that look. Look at my hair. Why wouldn't I? And then you had more prominent black characters in the movie. I'm sorry, I like seeing prominent black characters. In this case, you had a woman named Lashana Lynch. Never heard of her? Wonderful looking eyes. And she played the best friend of Carol Danvers, who thought she was killed. And you know what? Homegirl had it made. They're both fighter pilots, and she got to play a prominent role in this thing. And her daughter, young lady named Akira Akbar, someone else I didn't know. And, Maria Rambeau is the older, Monica Rambeau is the younger. I thought she was adorable, too. I ain't naming nobody else. You know what? Pretty much everyone else in this movie, except for the guy who played, oh my God, Lawson. And they CGI'd him, so he was younger also. And there were a couple of times in the movie where I'm looking at something and I'm saying, well, wait a minute, how come no one noticed that? I'm noticing there's something different here. And then it came true, because the Skrulls can basically shapeshift. So it was interesting seeing how some of those things came together, because I'd seen the previews, so you knew they were shapeshifters. And when you see the previews and you're wondering, well, how does she know this or that? It's because even though they can adopt someone's shape or look like someone else, they don't know all the stuff that they should know. So they make mistakes, and that's how you can tell. Now, they're still pretty tough because they're aliens, but they're not as tough as the Kree. Let me just say this. I don't know why, I've done this in another video, I don't know why people go to movies without hoping that they're really going to love it. You know what? The best you can do is go to a movie already with a chip on your shoulder and then pretty much hate it. Stay home. Keep your money at home. That's really the smarter thing to do than to go out there, try to trash this movie and ruin it for everybody else. I'm not doing that. I thought this movie was wonderful. I was captivated. You know what? I didn't go to the bathroom. The movie's almost 2 hours long. Previews were about 23 minutes, but the movie was almost 2 hours long, and I stayed from the beginning all the way through that last end credit. There's 2 end credits. I'm telling you that now because I had to look it up, because I didn't know, my friends didn't know, my wife didn't know, none of us knew how many. I looked it up real quick, found out there were 2, saying, you know what, we're sitting here through all of it. So the movie had enough action. It was funny. I laughed a lot. We all laughed a lot. Had this great tribute to Stan Lee at the beginning, showing all his different cameos, all different movies. That was wonderful. And then when you see him later on with a cameo in this movie, that was funny. And I'm making an assumption we're going to see the same cameo or a different cameo in Endgame when that comes out. And maybe they'll show this same tribute to him. Homeboy deserves it. I had fun. My friends had fun. We applauded. People applauded after this movie was over. So obviously there's a whole lot of other white men who have no problem with Brie Larson playing Captain Marvel. Some of y'all need to get over yourselves. This movie killed. Was it the best movie ever? I don't know that I can say that. I had a lot of fun. I thought it was fantastic. I think it was great. This was a great movie. Like I said, I went into it not having any idea who she was. And some of the end credit scenes, if you haven't already watched something else that tells you about it, they're going to throw you off. That's all I'm going to say. So I enjoyed it. I hope you go see it. I hope you go see it for the right reason. I hope you have a good time. Don't nitpick. Just enjoy the thing. That's what I do. My name is Mitch Mitchell. Hope y'all take care of yourselves.